So last week, Kevin the Ghost Builder, yeah, Kevin the Tech Ninja doesn't know how to build PCs. Somebody else builds them for him. Yeah, it's all fun and games until people realize that you can't build PCs yourself, bro. Anyway, so he challenged me and he said I couldn't build PCs. I said, very simple. You do an Intel build, I do an AMD build, and we'll see who has the best build at $600 that can handle VR. So guys, today, here is my AMD FX 8370 VR build for around $600, and you guys can decide who does a better job, considering I'm building it and Kevin, the Ghost Builder, or his Ghost Builder, is doing his. So before we start, I want to thank AMD, Thermaltake, Kingston, HyperX, as well as B&H Photo for providing some of the parts in this build. If you want to pick up anything, you can use the links down below to pick up some of these parts. Now, the first part here is the Kingston UV400 SSD. We went with 120 gigabytes because that's all we needed for the build, and also because of its price and performance. Next up is the HyperX Fury DDR3 RAM. We went with a single 8GB module because that's all we need to handle 4K and VR with this build. Next up is the AMD FX 8370. This is an 8-core processor clocked at 4 GHz. It can go max to 4.3. Also comes with its own cooler, the Wraith cooler, to give you some really nice cooling and performance, so you don't need to buy an extra cooler with this build. Next up is the Gigabyte 78 LMT-USB 3. This is a nice micro ATX board. It's much older, but it still gives you some good performance. Supports AM3 Plus, which is the chipset for our processor. Can expand up to 32 gigabytes of RAM, and again, just a nice solid micro ATX board. Our graphics card is the MSI AMD RX 480. The RX 480, of course, is a card of our choice here because it's cost effective, can handle VR and 4K, and also comes with 8 gigabytes of DDR5 RAM. Our power supply is the EVGA 430 watt power supply because we don't need much for our overall build. It's also cost effective, and again, it's really small and fits into a nice case like our Thermaltake V21 case here. Absolutely love this case for its style and its look, but also for its practicality. It's got enough space here for you to actually work around with. You can open up all the panel sides, so either the right, the left, or the top side panels, to actually get into the case and look at what you have to do for your build. The case also has two USB 3.0 ports at the side, as well as a separate mic and audio port for your convenience. Now, this is a windowed case. What's cool about this, you can move this window to either side of the case or even the top, allowing you to peer into the case from any side or angle you want, which is absolutely cool. What I like about this case is just it looks sexy. It's a great build, and it is fantastic altogether. So we have a rig built, priced around $600. We have a few games we'll be testing out, like The Division, Battlefield 1, The Witcher 3, and a few others. So let's go ahead and jump in. Our first game is Battlefield 1. We set things at resolution 2560 by 1440. Game was set at high, and we got our FPS range between 46 to 59 frames per second, and averages of about 54. This was really awesome because this is a beta game and our rig handled it well with the RX 480. Definitely love the kind of performance we got from this. Now, the next game is The Division. The Division is an open world game, of course, you guys know that. Resolution was set the same at 2560 by 1440. Game was set at high. Our FPS range was a little wider at 38 to 57, but the average was about 45. I definitely love the fact that with a game like Division, where there's a lot of things going on when you get into battle, we're still able to keep 45 frames per second, which is pretty good with this build. So I definitely like that. Now, moving on to The Witcher 3, which can be a tasking game. Resolution was set again at 2560 by 1440, but we ran the game at medium because at high we're getting about 37 frames per second, so medium gave us a range of between 47 to about 52 frames per second, and of course our average is about 47 frames per second. It was pretty good. I wish I could run it higher for better frame rate, but that's what we got off this build. And now moving on to 4K. The one game we ran at 4K was Overwatch. We ran this at Ultra 4K. Our FPS range was 57 to 78 frames per second, which is absolutely fantastic. Our average is roughly around 67 frames per second with this. And I have to tell you, it was great playing this game at 4K with this rig, especially the fact that you're running an RX 480, you're only doing using 8 gigs of RAM, DDR3 RAM, and the performance here was solid overall. And it's great to see that this rig can actually do that for you, give you some really solid 4K gaming, and also just solid gaming at least resolutions of minimum 1080p 60 frames per second, which is fantastic. Now let's talk about VR. Now, we decided to go with Oculus Rift here because we wanted to showcase a game called Edge of Nowhere. I really like this game, which is why I picked this up here for our rig. Now, Edge of Nowhere, we captured it at 2560 by 1440. Of course, since it's VR, it's a very different scope entirely. But our FPS range was between 38 to 50 frames, 80 frames per second. Sorry, I said 50. Average was 56, which is interesting, the wide range. But this is a game that has a lot of scope and breadth as you come up behind as the camera viewpoint for your character, and it just does very well. I have to say I was really impressed with the RX 480 here, especially in this build. So guys, what do you guys think and who you think won? Now this is Kevin's build. You can definitely check out his video. We'll have the link down below for you, but I have to say I think our build is pretty much the best and bang for your buck. I don't know what Kevin did. He calls his build BOB. I call it a busted old build, but you know what, that's it. So guys, if you want to vote for us or vote for Kevin, use the link down below, says vote. You can actually go ahead and vote there. Otherwise, don't forget to like and share this video, favorite this video, subscribe to the channel, and always enjoy your entertainment.